growth over 9 months of 2013. 4.3 billion for this third quarter versus third quarter of 13, a growth of 10%. EBIT is 8.4 billion, a growth of 45% in first 9 months, and 2.2 billion, which is growth of 5%. Profit before tax is 5.7 billion, a growth of 80% versus 9 months of 2013, and 1.3 billion for third quarter, a growth of 8%. The profit before JV and NCI is 4.4 billion, a growth of 99%. A billion baht for this quarter, the 19% growth, and net profit was 3.6 billion, which is a growth of 129%, and for third quarter was 0.8 billion, a growth of 63%. The net operating debt over equity is 1.15 times. Now this is before the prep issue, which we successfully did 15 billion baht, a landmark issue in Thai capital market, which further deleverages the company and makes a very strong equity base for future growth of the company. The liquidity is 31.2 billion, which is again before the prep, which is, if you take that, that becomes 46.2 billion. So substantial liquidity is there in the system to take M&As and further ambitious growth plan of the company. If we look at quarter by quarter, this slide basically tries to show you that there has been an improvement. So we are coming out of the trough of the earning. Third quarter, 4.2 billion. Versus 3.8, second quarter is 5.1 versus 4.3, first quarter is 5 billion or says 2.7. You can see third quarter is lower than second quarter. Of course, second quarter is seasonally strong because of the PET margins being stronger. Third quarter result also got affected because of force majeure situation in North America, where BP had some fire in their compressor and they reduced their PTA supplies. We have insurance coverage for this incident. This insurance income will be accounted in the fourth quarter, partly and partly in the first quarter. So all the loss of production in North America PET business is insured. The core net profit is 795 million versus 488 this third quarter, and you can see 1.33 billion over second quarter and 1.5 in the first quarter. The core earning per share is 17 satang. For second quarter it was 28. First quarter is 31. So cumulatively it becomes 76 satang. This shows that how as compared to the previous quarters, there has been a continuous growth and we are coming out of the trough of the earnings. If you look at the EBITDA bridge of 9 months 2013 versus 9 months 2014, from 10.9 billion to 14.4, 0.9 billion baht has come from increased volumes because of acquisitions, because of better operating rate of the existing assets. And margin and cost improvement is about 2.8 billion. So there has been margin improvements, and 0.3 billion are the one-time items, basically lower insurance gain from flooding in the Lokpuri. So that gives you the bridge of 9 months 13 versus 9 months 14. If you look from core net profit, third quarter was 795 million baht. We had inventory gain of 80 million. You might have noticed a lot of inventory losses, particularly in refineries because of the rapid drop in the crude oil. We will talk about this crude oil drop. We will also suffer some inventory losses in the fourth quarter, depending on how the fourth quarter, this December end prices happen. And so net profit before extraordinary item was 875 million baht. We had some non-operational expenses, 274 million. Now this is a one-time cost because we restructured US companies for long-term tax advantage. So it's a tax impact, which is withholding tax on the dividend, which were remitted out of the retained earning from United States. So this is one time, and this is tax impact of 274 million baht, and net of profit after tax and minority was 587. For second quarter was 1.48, and third quarter is 1.09. So this is just because of the restructuring, which will long term be beneficial for remitting the funds. 9 months of 14, our core net profit is 3.6 billion. The accumulated losses is 1.1 in terms of inventory losses. You may have a question why there is inventory losses, because if you see from 1st January 13, the prices have been continuously dropping, particularly paraxylene and 14, and I think we are at the bottom end of the prices. We'll talk about the crude, what is our view on the crude. So that is the reason of this inventory losses, and we have 2.5 billion net profit after this inventory losses. And extraordinary, we talked about these other extraordinary expenses, 274. but we had this negative goodwill coming out because of the bargain purchase of 403. So the net non-operational losses were 69 million, leaving net profit after tax of 2.4 billion versus 1.8 billion of 9 months of 13, a growth of 36%. So that gives you a reconciliation between core and reported net profit. This slide shows that how our strong cash flow has been. In 2010 was $328 million. In 2013 was 338, and first 9 months of 14 is 589. The reason of strong cash flows, there are various factors. Number one is release of working capital. When the prices drop, your working capital get released. The second is the deferred taxes. We don't pay the taxes which goes out of the core net profit because a lot of deferred taxes in the United States and other parts of the world. And the operational efficiency by reducing the working capital. So this is 589 is a pretty strong number, and we think fourth quarter will be even stronger because further drop in the prices, which is actually incurs a loss in terms of inventory loss, but cash gets released. It's a non-cash item. So that is how it happens. If you look this cash flow as a percentage of capital employed, which we call it as cash flow efficiency, is 15%. And we try to compare this with our peers in polyester business internationally. Peer 1 on the west is 11%, peer 2 in Asia is 6%, and peer 3 is in 3%. So which shows that company has very, very strong cash flows, and 15% cash flow is on the return on the net capital employed. The important corporate developments in the third quarter, we reorganized the US businesses, we did European businesses reorganized from 1st October, so the tax efficiency further increases. The current tax rate will continue to remain low because of this corporate reorganization, where we have suffered one-time cost. PRIS reaffirmed our A+ rating, and as you know, we did the largest perpetual debenture landmark in capital market of Thailand, 15 billion baht perpetual, which boosted up the equity base of the company. Let's talk a little bit about this perpetual debenture. This is, as I said, Thailand's largest ever perpetual debenture issue of 15 billion baht. It reduces our capital, this debt equity, from 1.15 to 0.73. Our internal guideline we want to follow is 1. So this is basically gives us a lot of opportunities for M&As. We are actively looking at 2 M&As. One, to diversify our product base, which should be announced in a month's time. This is to diversify the product base and a very cost competitive asset. One, we are looking for geographical diversification. So we are looking at a couple of deals here. You know that SASA is not closed yet because of we are still waiting for the approval from the competition authorities. So the liquidity of IVL increases from 31 billion to 46 billion. 15 billion liquidity increases, and that's why I talked about this possible M&As. What are the tailwinds and the headwinds of the business? This year we took creative steps to shut down some of the high cost assets in Europe. We shut down the Workington plant in UK. Otana, as you know, which is a joint venture, has been basically mothballed, and we debottleneck Poland and Rotterdam. So the Poland today has become a very cost efficient asset, and actually as Europe has contributed much better margin also in the first half of this year. So Europe has developed a very strong competitive base. CP4 state-of-art plant in Indonesia had some technical issues and ramping up the equipment problems. So the first 9 months did not contribute that much. Now it is running at 90% capacity, so we expect contribution in the fourth quarter coming. We did the PHP, the largest airbag yarn company in Europe, Turkpet, a new geographical location, a very cheap acquisition, and we did the Thailand and Mexico recycling for sustainability. The weakening currencies versus US dollar helps us. You're seeing euro at 1.25. They're talking even weaker euro. Mexican peso 13.6, Indonesian rupiah and Turkish lira 2.25. Now all these currencies where we have our operation basically gives us the benefit on the cost structure because the business is dollar linked, and that's why this will reduce our cost and it's a long term beneficial for us. The crude oil overall is positive because the